Welcome to 6.5 on the road. I'm Melody Brue with More Insights and Strategy, and I am here at Adobe Summit. I am here with Varun Parmar, who is General Manager of Adobe GenStudio and Firefly Enterprise. Great to see you, Varun.
Good to be here, Mel. Thank you.
Today, we're going to have a discussion about scaling content with Adobe GenStudio for performance marketing, Firefly services, and Adobe Express. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me here. Nice to meet you, Mel. Yeah.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
So there's so much going on here at Adobe Summit. Lots of exciting announcements, everything. But what we really want to talk about is in today's fast-paced environment, marketers really have this big challenge of creating content quickly that is personalized and at scale. So how are you helping to solve this issue that they have of creating all this content but not sacrificing quality?
So I think you're mentioning, Mel, the single biggest challenge that the industry faces right now is this massive demand for additional content, which is driven through personalization, right? And I think virtually every single CMO or chief digital officer or CIO that we talk to is saying, can you actually help us solve for that problem? What we've seen is in the past 2 years or so, generative AI has been this really magical, transformative technology that now allows them to create this content. But the challenge is that how do you actually create this content at the scale that the enterprise need, but something that's on brand, right? And Adobe, as you know, being the creativity company, we understand brand really, really well. And what we've done is through all of our applications, be it performance marketing app, or Firefly with custom models, as well as with Express and brand kits, what we've done is codified that brand for the enterprise. And that's a really unique value proposition that we offer. Beyond that, we know that a piece of content really performs well when it's personalized, and it's personalized to the persona or the segment that you're targeting. So another area where we're actually bringing some of our innovations to bear is how do all of our products integrate with some of our other technologies like RTCDP and others, right? And then I would say another big area is that once you produce this content, in certain use cases, performance is really important. So in the case of paid media, where tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake, you want to make sure that piece of content that's being used, or being trafficked for a really big campaign actually performs. And that's where the performance marketing app really shines, where we are able to extract out the key attributes that are working for that persona in that geography across that channel, and then allow the marketer and the creative to put more fuel on the fire so that they can actually focus on the thing that actually works. So that, in a nutshell, has been the focus for the team.
Mm-hmm. And along the way, as they're going through those steps and they're creating, they can go in and they can tweak those things. And let's talk about kind of the iterative process that allows marketers and others in their organization to I would say participate in that process with Express, with Firefly, with all of the tools that you have.
So to your point, Mel, there's actually a content workflow that's there in virtually every single brand, and agencies are a big part of that. And usually, at the highest level, there are sort of 3 steps that are involved in that. The first step is actually creating this content, right? So this is usually the creative production house of the organization that sits in the studio team, or the agencies helping you out with that, where you are trying to create this omni-channel content across different formats, different asset types, and so on and so forth. This is where Firefly Services comes in. We can really allow you to create on-brand content using our custom models across different asset types. So be it image, video, audio, vector, et cetera, et cetera. So you can create this stuff. So that's the first step, is around content production, which is enabled through Firefly Services. The next step is how do you take all of these experiences and then stitch them into the actual activation units that need to be put through the respective channels. That's where the performance marketing app comes in. So all of this content that's being produced through Firefly, all of these asset variants, can then be made available seamlessly through all the integrations that we have with our digital asset management offering, which is AEM Assets, inside of the performance marketing application. And that's where both the creative and marketer can go in and they can assemble this into whatever ad unit that they want, banner ad, or across Meta or Google or TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram. And then you can one-click activate this, to the respective channel as well. And we are announcing at Summit, expanded sort of integrations with all of the ad networks, but also integrations with our first-party activation systems, particularly AJO for email activation, Marketo for B2B emails, as well as with AEM sites for publishing content on your web pages. And then once you have this activated, Express is an amazing piece of technology that basically allows you to enable every single person in your organization to do these last mile edits. A great example of that is that once you have this campaign activated, you might have folks sitting in EMEA or Asia Pac, like if you're a US headquartered organization, and you want these people to have all of these hero assets, all of these experiences, and you want to activate them out in the field. Express is an amazing application that allows you to do that on brand, very quickly, very intuitively, and do it at scale. So that's how all of these three products, Firefly Services, Performance Marketing App, and Express come together into this three-step workflow that starts with asset variance using Firefly Services, creation of the ads and activation using Performance Marketing App, and then finally last mile edits through Express.
So you kind of beat me to this question a little bit, but I think there's more to it. Some of the things that you're announcing here at Summit.
Yeah. I would say there are three big thematic areas that we are innovating. The first one is adding support for different file formats. So now you can actually, inside of the Performance Marketing App, create images that are on brand. You are able to take an image and animate it, for a 5-second animation that you can then use inside of a Meta or a Google ad. We are actually improving the quality of the text, the copy text that gets generated through fine-tuned model offering that we're announcing. So just like better content, high quality content, doing it multimodally is like a big sort of area of innovation and focus for us. The next one is around activation, right? So we briefly touched upon this, but the ability for you to now take a piece of ad that was created using the Performance Marketing App and one click activate it across Meta or Google, and more platforms are also coming very, very quickly. And what's really unique here is that it's not the process of activation that's actually painful. What typically happens is that you have lots and lots of content across multiple campaigns that you need to put across an ad platform, and usually it's the tracking ID. How do you actually take the particular ad campaign and add in all of the attributes that you will then look at to actually see what's working versus not. We fully streamline and automate that tracking ID that's going into the activation platform. So that's the second big area, is the activation stuff. And like we discussed, a big part of that is first-party activations, integrations with AJO, AJO B2B, Marketo, AEM sites. That's a huge announcements that we are doing. And then the third one that I'm also personally very excited about is making Performance Marketing App into a true platform. So now, any application developer, any ISV or a systems integrator or an agency can take the Performance Marketing App and build add-ons to it. So we are announcing 10 strategic partners, like PwC, IPG, Fidelity Labs, Safer, that have built these add-ons for compliance use cases, either medical legal review, which is the PwC add-on, or in terms of financial compliance, which is around Safer, that are now available on the platform, and a number of them have actually already launched, and we're looking for the community to build a lot more add-ons as part of the platform. So that's on the performance marketing side. Let me talk about Firefly services as well, because that's obviously a very big area of focus for us, and the teams are innovating incredibly fast over there. And I would say there are a number of things there, but the first one that stands out for me is around video. It's all about video. Tremendous amount of innovation there. How do you take an existing video and resize it? And for those who are sort of deep in video, it's called reframing video, which is taking a video and then resizing it, but doing it in a way that actually it's usable. So having a focal point that actually shows Mel's image, like let's say we were actually trying to resize this video that's being recorded. What's the focal point? Where do we want Mel to show up in different file sizes? That's a big innovation. We're also delivering audio translation, lip sync, where you can actually take and translate these videos into different languages. Imagine this video being translated in 26 different languages, and doing it in a way where there's actually lip sync happening. So what you're saying in English is very different how your lips would move if you're talking in French, or if you're talking in German, or if you're talking in Spanish.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing piece of innovation that we're delivering. Also, once you're creating all of these content at scale, one of the things that happens is that you stitch it together. You take the image and you text and different sort of versions of the text into an experience. And InDesign APIs is another thing that we are announcing, which allows you to lay it out in the right way and then automate this. And then finally, I think really amaze amazing technology that we're releasing around 3D, so this is Substance 3D, where you can take digital twins of your physical products. It's a very, very, amazing technology, where these digital twins can be used for certain workflows. One of them could be object compositing, where it's a pixel perfect rendition of your product, and then you can actually use GenAI to create these background images, so that actually allows you to streamline, use cases around photo shoot and so on and so forth. So that's everything around Firefly. And the last thing is the availability of custom models through APIs. So custom models is this amazing capability that allows you to take your intellectual property, fine-tune our image models right now, and this is going to be coming to other formats as well, and then making that available as an API endpoint so that you can automate the end-to-end workflow. So that's another big sort of announcement that we're doing.
There's so much. I love the whole lip syncing thing, because I feel like I could take a video and I could just automatically learn every language.
Yeah, exactly.
We could put this video out in all the languages.
That's right.
You mentioned some of your partners and kind of some of the strategy around some of these announcements. How much, and you had a whole section on a partner day here at Summit. How much of the kind of partner strategy is that you have the kind of the go-to-market strategy, everything? How much of a role did partners play in kind of this next generation of this content scale that you're trying to reach?
Yeah, so partners play an extremely pivotal role in terms of not only how we build the products, but also go-to-market, so on both the dimensions. We just talked about like how the performance marketing app is a platform now, and we have 10 partners that have actually built these apps, and now the next thing we're super excited about is actually taking these integrations out to market and making sure that customers can realize value. Similarly, on the Firefly services side, some of the early adopters, of the platform and the APIs were agency partners, right? And so there's some really amazing successes that we've delivered, where these agencies are using Firefly services to create some of this content variants internally and making this available to their clients. Similarly, one of the things that, at the partner day that, we are talking to all of these partners is, how can we actually now come closer in terms of some more strategic sort of go-to-market sort of relationships that we can deliver. And that's another thing that, the teams are working on, so.
And some of the successes that you've had with customers, I know some of these things are announcements that are new, but you have some things that have been in the hands of customers already. What are some of like the kind of big wins that you've seen so far? Yeah,
no, that's actually an amazing question. I want to make sure that I quote the right thing, so I have my notes right here.
Sure.
And I think like, if you think of it like relatively, like these applications are new in terms of their availability out there, but we're already starting to see real big transformative outcomes that we are driving for our customers. So let me actually start off with Firefly services, and the first one that comes to mind is Gatorade. So Gatorade has this really unique offering on their website, and I think like you might have experienced this, where you can go to their website and you can customize a Gatorade bottle for yourself. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Yeah. Really amazing personalized experience that you can deliver to your site visitors. What Gatorade did was they actually generated 200,000 images, unique images, using our Firefly services model that are then available to all of their users when they visit the websites. This typical workflow would have taken them multiple months to create. Imagine the efficiency improvements that we're delivering. Multiple months down to a few hours and few days, right? So that's one example of Gatorade. There's Monks, which is an agency partner, and they were able to streamline their content production workflow in a very dramatic way, where there was 96% acceleration in the versioning time it takes to create banner variants. In fact, they were able to create 270 banner variants in a single day. Think about that, yeah? Again, sort of huge. And then they were able to accelerate their 3D asset creation time by almost 70%. Again, a big sort of outcome that we're driving for them. And then Studio RX, which is part of the IPG Health Network Group, was able to increase the speed it takes for them to create these assets by 5x. So that's on the Firefly services side. Now, shifting gears a little bit, so let's talk about GenStudio for performance marketing, right? And so highlighting 3 specific customer examples that have seen really amazing results. So the first one is around Lenovo. And in their case, they cut down the time it took to produce display ads. Guess what? From 19 days to just 5 hours.
Wow.
Imagine that.
That's significant.
Like 19 days to just 5 hours, under a day, right? And it was similar when they were doing sort of banner creation as well. So it's display ads and banner creation. And there's like hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings that they're driving, through this process. Then if you think about Lumen Technologies, which is a telecommunications service provider, they were able to reduce the cycle time to start with a campaign idea and activate it by 65%. 65%. We're talking about weeks getting translated into days. Transformational for the business. Imagine that, right? You don't have to start on a campaign like 6 months before the product launch. You can actually start like less than 6 days. What would that do for your business? That's what you need to ask. And then finally, University of Phoenix, which is an amazing customer, amazing partner of ours. They were amongst the first ones that actually onboarded on the platform. They were one of the first ones to do beta. So there's a lot of really strong partnership that we've done with them. And for them, they were actually able to increase personalized experiences by 4x. 4x increase in the personalized experiences without adding any more time as part of the overall process. So those are just some of the examples of what our customers, both on the agency side as well as on the brands, have been able to see with this technology.
That's great. I think it's so nice to be able to actually quantify some of that ROI now, because the last couple of years have been, well, I guess a year and a half, 2 years, have been so much about making announcements about product, not just Adobe, but in general in the market, and now to be able to actually see the ROI and be able to, hear those customer stories is so great. Well, as we wrap up, is there anything that you want to share? I mean, kind of where do you see what do you think we'll be talking about at the next Adobe Summit?
So I think it's a great question, Mel, and I would say, like, if you are an executive that is thinking about leveraging GenAI, and you could be sitting in a brand or in an agency, I would like you to say that 2025 is the year of going from playground to production. As we just talked about, right? As we just talked about it, like, multiple customers, multiple verticals, multiple industries are seeing real tangible benefits with the technology. Obviously, this comes with a big change management. So it's not that as an organization you don't need to adapt in terms of the skill set, in terms of the mix of the team and who's doing what. So there's a little bit of change management that sort of comes in, which is true for any transformative technology that you deploy inside of the enterprise. But I think that's the big sort of takeaway that we want folks to have as they think about this.
Great. I love that, from playground to production. Well, thank you so much. This was great speaking to you.
Likewise, yeah.
And thank you all for joining us. Again, I'm Melody Brue. This is 6.5 on the road, and we're at Adobe Summit 2025. We'll see you next time.